Hey guys, this video is going to go on our anime and manga playlist, but it's not necessarily just for people who like Japanese animation. This particular movie we're going to talk about is called Totoro, or My Neighbor. In English it's My Neighbor Totoro, and it's made by a very famous animator called Miyazaki. He's the director, and he's actually made a bunch of really in Japan really famous animations that are also famous with other people around the world. So those of you who haven't heard of him, this is for you. But just before you go, there's probably some people who go, oh, I'm not interested in animation, not interested in that stuff. Before you disappear, there's something about his work that could be worth looking at for people who are interested in Japan, even if you're not interested in animation. So in particular this particular movie, and it's because he has a real eye for detail. So first of all, the scenery is just incredible. The scenery is, almost every scene is a piece of art. You could take a still picture from just about any scene in that movie, and it's a work of art. It's just amazing. And his eye for detail, and people who've been to Japan, or people who know a bit about Japan, or seen lots of images of Japan, will recognize all sorts of little details in his animation that are really surprising. All sorts of little details that you wouldn't normally expect in an animation. So there's an incredible amount of realism in the landscapes and in the buildings and in lots of things like that, even though the stories themselves are actually quite there's a lot of fantasy in them, and there's a lot of imagination in them as well. So there's a really interesting balance. So from the point of view of people who like animation, you'll love Totoro. You'll love My Neighbor Totoro. It's absolutely excellent. For those of you who aren't into animation, what you might get from it is, if you are familiar with Japan and you've been to Japan, then you'll enjoy recognizing things. So scenes like this with the rice fields, like we're driving past now, you'll see in My Neighbor Totoro, and the detail, you know, the rice fields in the wind. We've showed you on other videos that in the wind, when the rice becomes heavy, it makes little ripples across like an ocean. You know, little details like that, and the water, little water creeks that flow beside, the water channels that flow beside these rice fields, you know, catch the light in different ways as they drop down, they step down, and he's captured that too. And there's so many details. The old house that features in that movie is classic. It's absolutely classic. Those of you who've seen our old farmhouse videos will recognise rooms from the old farmhouse, and doors from the old farmhouse, and all sorts of features from the old farmhouse that are included in this one as well. So if you've been to Japan before, it's going to make you all nostalgic and warm and fuzzy. If you haven't been to Japan before, it's really interesting. And we always say to people, we get asked every day, you know, is anime real? Is manga real? You know, I saw this thing in anime, is it true? I saw this thing in manga, is it true? We'll just to qualify again, that the scenery and the landscapes and the buildings and things is what he captures really realistically. As for some other stuff, there's obviously a lot of fantasy in it. So we still don't want to let anyone get the impression that animation is real, or watch lots of anime and you'll know all about Japan, because it's not true. Although, as well as capturing the landscape and capturing the buildings and so on really beautifully, he also does show lots of different aspects of Japanese culture. So there's a lot of examples of that in My Friend Totoro. There's My Neighbor Totoro. There's some spiritual stuff. So they go to a shrine and they go to a big tree. Actually, a few times they go to shrines. They go to shrines a couple of times in the movie, and they also go to a big tree, because big trees are connected with the spiritual Shinto aspect of Japan as well. So they go to a big tree, and then another time the kids are walking along alone, and they stop at a shrine and pray. And So there's some spiritual stuff, there's some cultural stuff, the way they interact with each other. There's an old lady in it, how they interact with her, and so there is quite a lot of cultural stuff as well. So what we'd recommend is there are some Miyazaki movies around that have been dubbed by Disney, and because they are hugely popular. Like if you talk about Totoro in Japan, almost everybody's going to know it, adults and kids, because you get different things from it. If a 3-year-old watches it, they love it. 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds love Totoro, but older people do too. So people of all ages like it because everybody gets something different out of it. Really small children will just love the imagery and the characters and things, whereas older people can see different levels. And there's a lot of adults here that are real Totoro fans and have all sorts of theories about some of the more fantasy stuff in it, what it means, what did he mean by that, and what does Totoro mean, what is that character about, and all this sort of thing. So it's huge in Japan. Everybody knows it. It's sort of like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would be to English-speaking people. You know, everybody sort of knows the story. So it's hugely famous and hugely popular, and also outside Japan as well. Which leads me to the next thing is that probably it's a worthwhile thing to own the DVD, because it's pretty good. If you're really into Japan, owning the Totoro DVD would be a good thing, because you can watch it many times, because you get something out of it every time. And then if any of your friends are into it, you can watch it as well. What we'd recommend though is Disney have the rights to dub it into English, and they've actually have a lot of Miyazaki stuff. And we actually did see one, Spirited Away, no, one of the others a while ago. We got a copy of it, and it was actually in English. You had the choice, you could choose between English and Japanese, and we switched it to English to see what it's like, and it was really bad because the imagery and the spirit of it is Japanese, and the culture of it is Japanese, and so that's really where the beauty of it is. So to have a character walk into a room and say, "Hi everybody," is really not good. It's really not good. It's really unfortunate. So it's really better to either get a copy where it's got English and Japanese, so you can choose between them and you can watch it in Japanese, which is much better, or get a copy that has the Japanese, so you can listen to the Japanese and has English subtitles. That's not a bad option either. So that's what we'd recommend. Of course, there's different choices. What we're going to do is we're going to put a link down below this video to where you can buy it online, and you can choose for yourself. The other thing you'll just have to keep an eye out for is different countries have different, what do they call it? Different DVD styles, and there's a what do they call it? Area 1, Area 2, something like that, and different. So, for example, a DVD from Japan won't work in Australia. So we wanted to send one of these videos to one of our friends in Australia, so we actually bought it online in Australia and sent it to them in Australia, so that they got the right region, they call it, region. So for example, Australia is region 4, USA is another region, but you can see, if you look at the link that we've given you, you can see the different copies that you can get, and it says the region on it. And then if you look at the information, it'll tell you, you know, this is for Asia, or this is for the United States, or this is for Australia. So you can get the right region, so it'll play on your DVD player. So yeah, definitely get Japanese on it. Even if you want English as well, that's fine. But we really strongly recommend the Japanese, because it just doesn't work in English. You know, we've seen this before with really classic Japanese movies, that if you watch them in English, and you know, and if they're dubbed by like Disney, it just doesn't. You know, Disney's great, and you know, the Disney movies are great and everything, but you just can't take the Disney voices and put them on Japanese animation, and it's just terrible. You know, hey everybody, how you doing? You know, it just doesn't work. So look, we recommend it. So for those of you who are anime fans who haven't seen it, definitely check it out. For those of you who aren't anime fans but but are interested in Japan or Japanese culture or Japanese landscape or scenery or anything about Japan at all, it's really worth looking at. You will get something out of it for sure. You really will. It's one of the better ones. Miyazaki is arguably the best animator of Japanese animation, and Totoro is definitely one of the classics. So if you're gonna just choose one, it's definitely one to choose. So anyway, those of you who've already seen the movie might want to leave your comments down below and let everybody else know what it was like. Having seen it myself a few times, I'll put my hand up as saying I'm a fan of it. It's an excellent movie. The imagery is amazing. The eye for detail is incredible. It's just art. You know, every second scene is like, wow, look at that. You know, just amazing scenery. It's really, really good. And yes, we do own a copy of it. It's worth owning a copy of it so you can watch it whenever you want. So anyway, My Neighbor Totoro. Links down below in the description of the video, and it's also in the comment section for those who can't see the details down there. Okay? Please enjoy that. More videos coming soon.